The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty.
Earnestly Podcast coming to you March 26, 2024. It is time for our yearly annual Major League Baseball preview, and we do that every year with my brother, the host also of, let me see, well, Tape 3 Wrestling #1, Fantasy Sports, what is it called? Fantasy?
The FKC Fantasy Hour.
Fantasy Sports, right. And now, a project I'm really enjoying, the Mount.
Yeah, and
very cool project before we get started. Oh, wait, what is that in the background? What is that?
Oh, because I have a Mac. If you do certain things with like your hands, like you can get.
That's cool. No, did you see that? Did you see the fireworks in the background?
Yeah.
There we go.
Double thumbs up. Fireworks.
That's Mike's all. Oh, hey, baseball's back.
Ew.
Excitement. Mikey Bernier, what's up, buddy?
Not a whole hell of a lot. Currently have on the Sunday afternoon game of the Savannah Banana World Tour on the YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Been watching a lot of their games. They're coming to Miami in October.
Okay.
Might try to steal a ticket to that. Otherwise, just getting work done on the Mount. Me and Jason going across the baseball landscape. Obviously, the goal is to get the baseball done and then hopefully get into football around the time football starts. We started off in the National League and we went through a couple teams that have some smaller lineage. These last two teams in the NL West are going to be very difficult because
I saw the Padres one actually this past week.
Yep. We have the problem of the Dodgers and the Giants coming up because you have their time in Brooklyn and in New York respectively. So yeah, you got a bunch of guys that you could put on those Mount Rushmores. So those two are probably going to be our first two that we're like a lot different on, I feel like, because we've been kind of similar on a lot of our pieces through the first three, but I have a feeling there's going to be some differences in the Giants one, probably in the Dodgers one as well. I know me and him have talked. How do you have a Dodgers Mount Rushmore and not have Jackie Robinson on it?
For real. Like they dedicated him also.
You start looking at the other people that have stats and you go, well, maybe that's how. So we have an interesting discussion or two that we have to have on the show, so it should be a lot of fun.
I'm curious though, like on the Giants one, like if Will Clark even gets a sniff.
I'm not going to say he will not get a sniff. I would definitely say he's probably not the favorite to make it. Obviously Barry Bonds is a name. Willie Mays is a name. Willie McCovey's a name that we've discussed off air. We have a bunch of guys that we've actually like, hey, is there a way that Willie McCovey doesn't make this list? Because you still have to go back over to New York time with Mel Ott and Christy Mathewson, guys like that. Juan Marichal is another name that we've talked about. So yeah, I think the Giants is going to be the first real test of where me and Jay's baseball similarities are tested.
Yeah, especially like teams like the Giants, especially obviously we're not fans of the Yankees, but That's going to be easily the hardest one to do.
The good thing about that one is I'm gonna try my best to get Craig and maybe some other Yankee fans on there to help drive that one. Obviously, as a Red Sox fan, the last thing I want to do is give them any goddamn praise. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Garrett Cole's shoulder hurts. Shocking.
Right.
It just doesn't want to face Rafael Devers.
Yeah. So anyway, check out that podcast record on the Hello Incorporated feed. You dropping it every Sunday now?
So what happened is because for those of you that don't know, I'm now a manager of a floor supervisor at a card room in Port St. Lucie.
Right.
Couple guys that are the other floors are out for the next couple weeks. One of the guys is moving his wife back from Kansas. She was in the military and got discharged.
Right.
So I've been working Sundays. So we've been recording like Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
And I just forgot to send Jim the fucking description for like 4 days.
Thank God the show is evergreen. Thank God it's literally the most evergreen show.
I literally sent him a text Sunday. I was driving to work, leaving here. Just got done with baseball. I was like, man, did I send you the description? And he goes, nope. I'm like, all right, I'll send it to you when I get to work. Got to work.
Forgot about it.
To him. Sent him a text last night. I'm like, hey, did I ever send you that? And he goes, no, you idiot. And I go, fuck. I'm like, all right. So got it to him, got the show up. Yeah. Luckily enough, it's kind of evergreen. Obviously, the goal is to get the show up at least once a week, somewhere in the Wednesday, Thursday variety.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's good to do it once a week. It spreads out the whole show. It gives the show a long leash. You can obviously based on what you're telling me, this show's gonna probably go into probably every sport, I imagine. So
the goal is to definitely stretch this out into recapping all 4 of the major sports.
Yeah.
So that's one of those. I know. I would assume that we're gonna just go right into the NFL next because it'll probably be fall time.
Oh God, yeah.
When we get done with the Major League Baseball thought process. So the goal there would then be go to the National Football League. We'll obviously probably carry them over to basketball afterwards, and then hockey will probably be the last one that we really try to tackle. I think hockey might be the toughest of the 4.
Easily,
because we have enough people that we know, yourself included, and Matt, and guys that know enough about basketball that even if it's not your team, enough that you have enough of the game that you could come on multiple episodes during the NBA season. So that's gonna be the goal that me and Jay are eventually gonna have a conversation about what the next step is for after baseball, but we got 35 more episodes because at the end of each division we're doing the all-time team of that. So each division is technically going to be 6 episodes. So that's
a cool idea. That's a really cool idea.
We just thought it would be a nice way to put a bow on it. So that was the thought process that we used for it. But yeah, we're excited. We've like I said, we've got the Giants this week, Dodgers next week. We're obviously going to be a little bit ahead because I'm in Philly for WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So with a lot of that stuff, we'll probably record that Dodgers episode a little bit in advance. So may not be able to talk about how they're doing actively because it's going to be in the can. But yeah, the goal is to get through Major League Baseball by the time the World Series ends. So there might be a couple weeks where you get 2 episodes, just depending on how we get through the summer.
Right.
But yeah, we're excited for the concept. Jay did this about 6 or 7 years ago on Facebook, so it's cool to go back over it because obviously there have been guys that have retired.
No, I remember this actually. I remember you posted this years ago. I remember this.
Yep. Or there's guys that have finished their tenures with teams and things like that. So, it's cool to rehash it for him, and it's cool to have another baseball mind to bounce it off of. That watches as much as I do. So we're excited to keep it going. It's a cool concept. I'm glad Jay was able to believe in it because, I pitched it to him and he was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do this thing. So
Yeah.
we're
There you
excited
go.
about it. And, Jim has been so gracious to let us put it on the Huddle Up Incorporated feed so I don't have to worry about editing or
Right.
adding music or, things and following along. And
Let him handle that shit.
posting videos on YouTube because if as you said with the Take 3 show, I haven't posted a video of the Take 3 actual feed in probably like 2 months on YouTube.
I've noticed that too. Like,
because a lot of the times, and peeling the layers back, I work Friday, Saturday, and I'm there at like 9:30 in the morning, so I have to leave my house by like 7:30.
it's a long ass drive, an hour drive easily.
And it's an hour drive, and then I'm there till
not including traffic either.
Yeah, and I'm there till like 7:30 ish. So I'm there all day, and then it's like I come home, hang out with the kids for a little bit, then I go to bed and do it again the next day. So getting up to physically active like YouTube is kind of a pain in the ass sometimes with it didn't upload the first time, so then you're trying to re-upload and you got to leave it open, but you got to still be on the computer, and if you're not on the computer,
I know that nightmare, brother.
So doing it at 1 a.m. in the process of like driving Joe home isn't an option whenever he does the show here.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously it's hard to do whenever I get home from work, so it's kind of been like, okay, cool, let's get the audio up, and if there's something that happens on the video that I think is must see, then I scramble to put the video up. But it's just been it's the way that my schedule is, being off like Tuesday, Wednesday normally, but like right now I've been off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because I've been working Sundays.
Yeah.
So it's given me more time to focus on the mount, which has meant less time of getting the videos up for Take 3. But
it's a fun project though, man. I like it a lot. It's a really,
not
really
a lot of
great
people
concept.
worry about seeing the ugly mugs that are myself, Joe, and Jim. I know if Joe ever listens to this show, he'll be like, I'm not ugly. And I'll just tell him to shut the hell up because that's what I do.
He's dramatic anyway, too. Anyway, again, check out that show, The Mount, of course, on the Huddle Up Incorporated feed. Great stuff. There are 3 teams into that project. All right. So, like we did last year, we take all the Vegas win projections for this season for baseball, and we just figure out, we go over under. Now, Mike here is obviously, at this point, baseball to me, outside the Mets, is pretty much third language to me now. I don't know all the transactions anymore. I follow sport, but I'm not like day to day like I used to be when I was growing up. However, this guy here, as I call him the Squid, is very much informed with the baseball. Every team, every transaction, doesn't matter what it is. So basically, he'll be driving this show. I'll bring up the number. I'll see what this team did and whatnot. And you tell me what it is, and we'll go from there. So, but before we get there, I want to start here first, not spend too much time on it because it's already overdone and there's still stuff we got to figure out. The Shohei Ohtani situation with the interpreter and all this stuff. What are your thoughts on that, Matt? Where are we at so far with this story?
So the thing here with the whole situation, obviously there will come a time where we'll figure out exactly whom was making the bets and what the bets were and things like that. Because there are things where, obviously Shohei has allegedly sent money to the bookie or whatever to pay off the debt. Now, were they betting on prop bets of Ohtani? Was it, hey, is he going to walk more than 1.5 guys? And, the interpreter may say something to Shohei, which could directly affect, decisions and things like that. Obviously, you don't want to assume that because of the character that Shohei has shown, the way that he is. You just want to assume that he knew nothing about it. Obviously, I think the bigger tale here is what's Major League Baseball's decision going to be once they start peeling back the layers of what was involved, what was bet, things like that. The safest thing for Shohei here is to hope that his ex-interpreter didn't bet on the Angels at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, I still think that there's going to be some kind of ramification held against Shohei Ohtani from the government for the illegal wire transfer, because That's still technically illegal in the state of California. So
what, a fine or something?
I would expect some kind of fine in a very,
Suggest a suspension, maybe suggest that MLB give him a suspension.
I mean, honestly, I don't know how much the federal government's going to get involved in Major League Baseball. I think it's more of he's going to get some kind of fine that he's going to have to pay. Major League Baseball may give him, a short suspension, 10 games or something like that for conduct detrimental to the league, pending an investigation or something. The thing right now that baseball, and this is just solely of Major League Baseball, has to worry about is they cannot afford to cover up any wrongdoing that Shohei has done,
right?
Because it's Shohei. If he's done wrong, they have to, and this is going to sound really bad, they're going to have to nail him to the cross the same way they did Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Because at this point, you've made an example out of someone who bet on professional baseball.
Yeah.
If Shohei was involved in any way, shape, or form, or if there was bets that involved his props or things like that he could have very easily fixed one way or another. And a lot of people at home, may not know the Vegas thought process and prop bets and things like that. It could be as anything as over under walks in a game, over under strikeouts in a game, hits allowed, runs allowed, things like that. I mean, if Shohei's over under and walks is 1.5, and it's just one of those things where, hey, cool, he misses it. He doesn't throw the splitter on a 3-2 count. He purposely throws the ball, up.
Yeah.
Walks 2 guys in the first inning, doesn't give up any runs, so it doesn't look like he's throwing the game.
Right.
But that prop bet hits, and his interpreter could have made some financial dents in whatever he may owe. That's why I'm saying for Major League Baseball's sake, your best bet is to hope that interpreter that just bet on like anything that wasn't an Angels game.
Right. So as we pivot now to the Dodgers, who Shohei Ohtani is a part of, their over-under number 104.5. Last year they won 100 games. It's a big number, Michael.
It's a big number also because I don't necessarily know that they have a starting pitcher.
So Kershaw's back, right? He's back for another year, right?
He won't be back until the middle of the year.
That's right. He's still out. Which might be a good thing because they don't really need him to like the stretch run.
Well, he's out.
Yeah.
Yamamoto looked like dog shit in the game in Korea. His fastball looked flat. His breaking ball didn't move, and the Padres jumped all the fuck over it.
Right.
I don't know necessarily that I think that they are built. Walker Buehler's coming back from injury. So yeah, they're a little bit thinner than they have been in the past.
But they can hit their way to wins, though, right? They have so many great bats, though, right? They can average 7 to 8 runs a game. That the pitching can have the longer leash, right?
In the Yamamoto start alone last week, they put up 11. The game before they put up 5, so they scored 16 runs in Korea. But when you look at their roster,
average 8 though. So I mean, that's right under the wheelhouse.
I mean, Tyler Glasnow, who they got in the trade with Tampa, is going to be good. He's going to be probably the number one. Dustin May is eventually going to come back. Bobby Miller's going to probably break camp in the rotation. The best nickname in LA sports right now, the Big Maple, James Paxton, former Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
He'll probably be the 4-starter. I mean, they're going to have enough arms to get them through until guys like Kershaw and Buehler and, they get there. My concern, though, is there's also a lot of guys who are kind of like not on the active roster that, Emmett Sheehan, Bruce Dark Adderall, Tony Goslin, all of which are hurt. JP Freiereisen, hurt. I mean, we're looking at it. You just had to move your best outfielder to shortstop because you don't have a shortstop on your roster that you trust because Gavin Lux can't make the throw. Max Muncy's a strikeout machine at third base.
So there are holes.
There are holes, but there are also, when you look at it and you have the second best first baseman in the league, or the third best first baseman in the league, you have a right fielder who's playing second base and or shortstop who will be in the top 5 of those positions. You add Teoscar Hernandez. James Outman has another year coming back. Oh, and by the way, your designated hitter all year is going to be a guy who's going to smash the cover off the ball as long as he's not suspended in Shohei Ohtani.
Does the Shohei thing, can it be a distraction? Can it affect the number? Because I don't see the reason why they won't go over still. Even
the Shohei thing will only affect that number if Shohei gets suspended.
And the odds are.
I think that locker room is professional enough to, if he's there, they're happy to have him. If he's not there, they have to move on to the next piece of business.
Yeah.
And I think that's because of guys like Mookie, guys like Freddie, guys like Clayton Kershaw. You know, it's business. Yeah, we want Shohei here, but he's got to go handle whatever he's got to handle, and we got to handle our business.
This thing too also do though. They'll load it even without Shohei though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, the pick of Teoscar Hernandez is the one that I've sat here and I've said, if there's a move, obviously the Shohei one is going to be the one that everyone talks about. It's the Teoscar Hernandez move for me. That was the piece that I felt really moved them over, because go back to that playoff run, their outfield really wasn't that great. Mookie Betts was playing second base, and their outfield was kind of a question mark. Teoscar with strong enough arm, good enough reads in the outfield, and if Ohtani misses any time, he's a guy that you can pencil in that DH spot and potentially bring up one of those kids out of AAA. You know, obviously the big takeaway here, though, it's Shohei. It's what do you expect out of Shohei? I'm also going to be honest with you. I wouldn't let Shohei pick up a baseball for the next year. Just worry about your
as a pitcher, right?
Yeah, just worry about it.
Oh, of course not.
Because here's the thing. He may never throw another pitch in Major League Baseball ever again.
Honestly, it's on the table. I believe you 100%. I think it's on the table as well.
And if him going and not pitching means that he's going to hit 158 to 162 times a year, I'll take the offense and sacrifice the pitching when I have guys like, you know, Emmett Sheehan, Bobby Miller. You know, obviously James Paxton's only a 1-year rental. Walker Buehler's a free agent at the end of the year, so there are going to be question marks about that staff moving forward. So, I mean, if you're going to sit here and say that there's a window for a team, that window is right now for this LA Dodgers team. I'm going to take a slight over. I think it's closer than people are going to say. And I think it's because look at the National League West, and I know that's the division that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, division. Yeah,
you know, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the defending National League champions, just made a move a little while ago, about an hour ago. They signed Jordan Montgomery to go to that staff. The San Diego Padres. So what? They lost Juan Soto. What did they do? They brought in Dylan Cease to help fix that rotation.
Yeah.
You know, the Giants brought in Blake Snell. So there are pieces of the other teams that were kind of walks at point last season that now they're going to have to go play tough games against.
And they can nib at that total. Yeah.
If they went in 16 games, if they went 10-6 against the Giants last year, they may go 9-8 this year, or 9-7 this year,
right?
And lose a game. You lose a game here or there, it can make a difference, especially at a total this high.
Yeah, it shrinks the number down, right?
And I will tell you this much: a lot of people coming into spring training said this is the team that catches the Mariners record, the record that they tied of like 118 or whatever.
Yeah.
This Dodger team is not built to win 118 games.
And we're not even talking about the Shohei situation and everything else. So yeah, you're right there. You mentioned this teased it. And before the record, guys, on the podcast, we're gonna go division by division. So we're going NL West first. The defending National League champions, the Arizona Diamondbacks, they won 84 games last season. This year, their overall number is 83.5. So Vegas is saying they didn't get better despite going to the World Series.
I don't know how they didn't get better. Obviously, this number was before the Jordan Montgomery signing, which will be made official in the next 24 to 48 hours, pending a physical.
Does this move the number? Would this hypothetically move the number 3 wins more? You think?
I would say yes, because he's probably going to pencil in over the injured Eduardo Rodriguez, who was probably going to be the number 4 or 5 starter.
Mm-hmm.
So that rotation now looks something along the lines of Zach Gallen, Jordan Montgomery. You probably have Brandon Pedeft, who pitched well in the playoff run. You still have Merrill Kelly there. Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez when he comes back from injury. The big blow the first couple weeks of the season, they'll be without closer Paul Sewald. He pulled something in his oblique, so he's out for the first couple weeks. So the closing spot's going to be a little bit of a question mark. But what this team did on the offensive side of the ball is where I'm going to sit here and tell you that I think they got better.
Okay.
Obviously, Ketel Marte is back as the pace setter in the infield. Christian Walker coming off of a 40 home run season. I think he hit 40 last year. If he didn't, it was upper 30s. He hit 33 last year. Okay, so he's coming off of a 30 and 100. Blaze Alexander, a young shortstop prospect there. But the big piece here, they traded for Inahilio Suarez of the Seattle Mariners, a power bat to take over the place of Evan Longoria. Last year in Seattle, 232, 22, and 96. And that ballpark is deeper and at a harder to get out level. That ball flies in Arizona. So Gino, I think, can put up even better numbers in Arizona. Plus, he has the potential to be the DH. And let's not talk about how fast this outfield is. Corbin Carroll in left. You have Lourdes Gurriel in right. Alec Thomas is in center. Those guys fly. All of them do. Oh, and then, by the way, what did they do? They signed Randall Grichuk. And guess what? If you need a DH, they signed Jock Peterson.
So you're saying over. You're saying over, huh?
Smash the over before they signed Jordan Montgomery.
So, but you're stealing the number here while you can.
If you can get it now, get it now. I don't know that it's going to stay there for long.
Do the quick little future. Yes. Okay. How about the San Diego Padres last year? 82 wins, disappointing season, considering the expectations coming to the year. The number this year is 83.5.
So it's disappointing because of what that roster looked like on paper. Then you started hearing the rumblings of, well, Soto doesn't mesh well with Manny. And Manny and Tatis have a volatile relationship. Mm-hmm. Xander Bogaerts was a free agent that everybody expected to be the Xander Bogaerts of the Boston Red Sox, and he wasn't last year. Then it was, okay, well, can we move him to second and put Ha-Seong Kim at short? We don't want to do it in the middle of the year. And then Jake Cronenworth wasn't hitting well last year. There was a lot of questions. And they answered question number 1 by moving on from Juan Soto. Yes, they got pieces back that made a lot of sense, but they also got pieces that made sense in what they did next, which was trading for Dylan Cease. There are teams that go through rebuilds, and there's teams that still want to win while moving pieces. And I think that's what the Padres did here. They understood the assignment. The Dodgers are going to hit the shit out of the ball. The Diamondbacks are going to hit the shit out of the ball. We can hit with them, but we're going to need pitching to get them out. Dylan Cease is that guy. Michael King, a piece from that trade for Juan Soto, going to be the number 4 or 5 starter there. Joe Musgrove didn't look great in Korea, but will be fine. Yu Darvish, when you're looking at those 4 guys, the 5th guy could be a little bit of anybody. There's wild cards in that. Matt Waldrum, who's a knuckleballer, could be in somewhere out of the bullpen, could be in that rotation at some point. Adrian Morjan, Jay Groom. So they have pieces that make sense. The offense, I think that's more of the question mark for me. The catching position, Luis Campusano and former Yankee Kyle Higashioka. I think they're just placeholders till Evan Salas is ready. I don't know that I love Xander Bogaerts at second base. I get it from a position of wanting to have Ha-Seong Kim play short. The outfield, to me, though, is where I really have the question marks. Obviously, Fernando Tatis, a platinum glove last year, probably the best right fielder defensively. in the game last season.
Mhm.
I like Jackson Merrill, the rookie that they brought up. He can play shortstop or the outfield. I just don't love Jerkson Profar. I don't know where he fits in this defense. I don't love it. What's the total?
83.5.
They're better than a 500 team, so they're an 84, 85 probably.
It's definitely sounds like a stay away.
Honestly, I'm not gonna bet it. If you would have told me the line was 79.5, I'd hammer the over. If you told me the line was 85, I would tell you under. I think they're anywhere between an 81 to 83 win team. So, and that's not depending on health of some guys and potential trades.
Right. The other team here with the same exact number as 83.5, the San Francisco Giants, who won 79 games last year. 83.5 again is the over/under. So a lot of fairly decent over/unders here for at least 40 of these 5 teams in the division. What about the Giants? What you got there?
Well, they added 2 more starting pitchers to their ensemble to go with Logan Webb. They added Blake Snell, the defending Cy Young Award winner, as well as Robbie Ray, formerly of the Seattle Mariners. I think both of those are good pickups. The Patrick Bailey, Joey Bart catching tandem, I think could be competitive. Picked up Matt Chapman, great defensive third baseman. I don't know how well his swing's going to carry over to that ballpark. We'll talk about JD Martinez when we talk about your New York Mets. JD came out in a podcast or in an interview and said that he actually looked at the Giants offer, and the reason why he said more or less, and I have to give credit to the Baseball is Dead podcast, Jared Carabas and Dallas Braden for bringing this up. Was listening to it today. They had their first show under the new banner on Underdog. Congratulations to those guys. JD said his swing doesn't play well in that ballpark in San Francisco. He likes to go to the right center gap. And that doesn't play well in San Francisco. A lot of his home runs, a lot of his doubles would be flyouts in San Francisco. Whereas they would actually be, he's actually projected to hit 14 more home runs in Citi Field than he would have in AT&T Park.
Boy, we can use that bat, definitely.
Well, and here's the thing. An aging guy signing a one-year contract with options.
How old is he, 33?
I think he's older than that. I think he's like 35.
Oh shit. Okay.
But if you're a guy, even at 33, if you're a guy who's trying to, push the sun back up into the clouds for a couple more hours to get a little bit more of playing time and potential one more contract out of this, he's 36 and be 37 in August. If you think you got 2 more years, 3 more years left in you, you got to go prove it playing in a ballpark that's going to play to your favor.
Absolutely, without question.
If he plays it somewhere to his detriment, that could lead to him not getting an offer next year.
Right.
That being said, the outfield, they signed Jung-Ho Lee from Korea. They'll obviously be paired up with some kind of order of Michael Conforto, the former Met. Mike Yastrzemski is still there. They signed Jorge Soler, who's probably going to play a lot of time as the designated hitter. Here's the thing. I don't know that Blake Snell is going to be ready to go right away. He signed that contract really late into spring training. I'm going to go slight under. They're probably a 78 to 81. So, keep an eye on this one. If this is one where you wait the first week to see how they get out the gate and then bet it a little bit later after the games start getting adjusted. I still think they're an 80. They're a 500 team with the ability to be a little bit better, but I don't think it's monumentally better.
Right. And then to the Colorado Rockies. Last year won 59 games. Their over number is 59.5.
So their number last year was 59. Their over-under is 59.5.
Yeah, so basically it's same old, is what they're saying. Unless you think they can sneak a couple wins here or there.
The problem is I don't even know who the fuck they have in their pitching staff right now. Let me look at this real quick. Nope, under. They didn't do anything to fix the pitching. I mean, they signed Ezekiel Tovar to an extension. That's cool. Chris Bryant is still Chris Bryant. Charlie Blackmon's cool. Nolan Jones is going to hit the shit out of the ball in Colorado because that ball flies.
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything to fix the pitching staff. They're still going to wheel out Anthony Santantella, Austin Gomber, Kyle Freeland, Jalen Beeks, Daniel Bard's the closer. Hopefully he gets traded somewhere where his ERA isn't 9.5 by the All-Star break. You have 4 really good teams in that division, and then you have the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, that's why I feel it too. Also, all right, let's go to the NL Central. Let's start here first with St. Louis Cardinals. Won 71 games last year. A very underwhelming season for them, of course. But the number is 85.5. So Vegas likes a bounce back here. It's the Cardinals. They always find a way to bounce back no matter what. That's what they do.
I don't really know what they did in the offseason to make themselves better.
Always find a way, though.
Matt Carpenter's back. He's going to be the DH. Woo.
How old is he? 52? Shit.
38.
Close enough.
Yeah. Lars Nootbaar, Dylan Carlson, Jordan Walker, Alec Burleson. Like, they're going to be young in the outfield. Mason Wynn, the 22-year-old shortstop. They brought in Brandon Crawford to be, a backup shortstop, former Giant. Obviously, Goldschmidt and Arenado, you're hoping for better years from them. Nolan Gorman, same thing. Wilson Contreras, you're hoping that, they figure out whatever his beef was with the pitching staff last year. That was a big headache after the retirement of Yadier Molina. But they just felt really quiet. Like, I get it. They did bring in Sonny Gray to help that staff. But it's very, and they bring in Kyle Gibson, who was good in Baltimore last year, 15-9, but the ERA was like 4.75. So it's like they added pieces to give them innings, but are they really good innings, or are they just innings enough that you think, well, the rest of this division is going to be a fucking crapshoot? So
yeah, it's also a relatively bad division, though, in comparison to everybody else.
It's a terrible division.
Right.
Central and East leagues are somewhere between God and awful, and I can't figure out which one. What is it, 85.5?
85.5, man.
I'm going to take the under. I think they're a 77 to 82 win team, and that's max out at 82.
Ooh. So, like, you don't think they're the favorites then? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, we'll find out very soon. All right, so the Milwaukee Brewers are next on the list. So last year they won 92 games. However, their overall number has plummeted to 75.5. Explain that to me, Michael.
The loss of Corbin Burns, who's now a member of the Baltimore Orioles.
Right.
He is gone. I believe they've also Brandon Woodruff is hurt. Devin Williams is hurt. Their closer, their all-star closer is hurt. They're really rolling out a pitching rotation the first couple weeks of the season. That's probably going to have Jacob Junis in it, the former Kansas City Royal. Wade Miley, the 37-year-old veteran. You're probably going to have Freddie Peralta. But you don't have Brandon Woodruff anymore. You don't have Corbin Burns. He's in Baltimore. This pitching staff has taken a major hit over the last 3 months. The catcher position is still William Contreras, the younger brother of Wilson. Had a great year last year. He's just 26. He's just going to get better. They did bring in former Philadelphia Philly Rhys Hoskins to man first base with Jake Bowers. Joey Ortiz is going to be good, but he's super young, 25. Hasn't had a lot of MLB at bats. Same with Bryce Turang. Willie Adames is a piece that may get traded to the Dodgers if the Mookie Betts at shortstop experiment doesn't work. And then in the outfield, you got Christian Yelich, the 32-year-old. He didn't look good last year. He looked like he was 35 last year. The swing was long. It didn't look right. It almost looked like it didn't feel right to him at points. So question there. Garrett Mitchell broke a bone in his hand. He's on the IL for the first couple weeks of the regular season. That's a big hit. Prospect Jackson Churio, the 20-year-old. He's going to be fun to watch. That might be the one thing that I'm excited for with this team is Churio. I think this team, though, is going to implode. I think this team, you may be on pace to get close to that win total, and then you get to the All-Star break, and Devin Williams is probably moved, and Brandon Woodruff, if he's healthy, is moved. And some of these other pieces, Willie Adames is moved. Jake Bowers or Rhys Hoskins moved. Like, there are pieces where today, if you're telling me lock, stock, everybody's healthy, that roster is going out there and playing 162 games, I would say that we're in a real close area for the over under here. But I don't think this team stays together. I think they blow it up. I'm going to take the under.
All right. Chicago Cubs last year won 83 games. This year, the over-run number is 83.5. So if the Cardinals aren't the favorites, despite the number, are the Cubs favorites in this division this year in your eyes?
No. More on that later.
Okay, we got 2 more teams to go. So obviously it's one of those other 2 teams then.
I do like the Kyle Hendricks is back. I do like the Shota Imanga and Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon. They do have a bunch of pitching. It's the one thing I can say about this team is they do have good pitching. And they're going to keep themselves competitive in games because of it. They did the right thing by re-signing Cody Bellinger.
Right.
That was a piece that had a great year. There was talks that they were afraid that they were going to lose him. But your starting catcher is 36 years old in Yan Gomes. Your infield, it's a super utility guy playing first base. Nico Horner's at short. Dansby Swanson's Nico's at second. Swanson's at short. Your third baseman is either going to be Patrick Wisdom or Nick Manderville, another utility guy. It's not real great. The outfield is probably where you have your best pieces. You have Cody Bellinger. You have Ian Happ. You have Seiya Suzuki, top prospect, former Met prospect Pete Crow Armstrong will probably break camp, and if he doesn't break camp, he'll be up shortly after. Which means Happ and Bellinger and a couple of those other guys are probably going to get more time in the DH spot this year. So I would probably say that they're the second favorite to win this division. The over-under is what again?
83.5.
I'll take the over.
Okay. The Pittsburgh Pirates last year won 76 games. The over-under is 10.5. I imagine this is not the favorite team either. Thank you, Stone Cold.
This team did get better, though. I will give them credit. David Bednard now has some help in that bullpen from the left side in Aroldis Chapman if he decides to go back to being Aroldis Chapman. But the pitching staff, Mitch Keller, they signed him to an extension. They brought in Martin Perez.
Mm-hmm.
They have Marco Gonzalez. I'm going to butcher this first name. Ronsnay Contreras. The catchers, they're going to give they have 2 guys that I think could be everyday catchers. Their prospect, 24-year-old Henry Davis, who came up at the end of last year. They signed also Yasmani Grandal, the former White Sox. Had some pop off of that. Rowdy Tellez is at first. To Brian Hayes, one of the best defensive third basemen in all the game. And you're going to get a full healthy season out of O'Neal Cruz, a 25-year-old electric shortstop. The second best shortstop in this division. More on that in a minute. The outfield is going to be young, but it's going to be entertaining. Edward Olivares, Brian Reynolds, Jack Sawinski, Michael A. Taylor, Connor Joe, and then obviously the DH is Kutch, Andrew McCutchen. The only reason why I would be a little hesitant on this number would be as if they're a team who is stellars at the deadline. That's Chapman probably getting moved. That's Bednard probably getting moved. It's one of these starting pitchers that are decent probably get moved. So what's the number? 73.5?
Yes.
I'm going to take a slight over. I think they're like a 75, 76 win team.
A little frisky Central team.
Shohei Ohtani's rep declined to answer which authorities they've contacted to report theft allegations versus
former interpreter. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, this came in now. So the next team here is Cincinnati Reds. 82 wins last year over under. 82 wins last year rather over number 82.5. So it ain't the Cardinals, it ain't the Brewers, it ain't the Cubs, it ain't the Pirates. I guess Cincinnati and the Riverfront crew.
Yeah. And here's the thing. They're going to be a team that's going to be buyers at the deadline. The pitching staff isn't great. It's very questionable. I understand that. but I feel like this is a team that's going to be buying pieces that teams like the Pirates and the Padres, if they're out of it, and teams in the American League that are going to be moving pieces. Looking at you, Boston Red Sox, Nick Pivetta, guys like that.
More on that later.
Yeah, more on that later. But they're going to be competitive. I love Tyler Stevenson. This young infield that they have with Christian Encarnacio Stand, Spencer Steer. They just got Santiago Espinal from the Blue Jays. I think Jonathan India gets moved for a pitching piece before long. Their offseason acquisition of Jaime Candelaria, the former National. Oh, and by the way, they still have Ellie De La Cruz, who's 22, Noelvi Marte, who's 22, and Matt McClain, who's 24. And here's the deal. Ellie De La Cruz had to play third base for a lot of last year because how good Matt McClain was. We're talking about a guy who was like the runaway for Rookie of the Year prior to his injury. Had to play a different position because of how good somebody else was. The outfield, it's young. Will Benson's going to hit the ball. Here's the thing with Will Benson. Put him in that lineup. He's either going to hit it 800 feet or he's going to strike out on 3 pitches. There's no middle ground, but you live and die with it. TJ Friedel, good contact guy. Going to be up in the top half of that lineup. You got Jake Fraley. You got Nick Martini. Here's the thing. I may be dead wrong about them being the favorites to win this division, and that's okay. They're young. They're just going to get better. And I think this is a team that has young enough pieces to where if teams decide to sell early, they're going to buy. And I think that fluctuates their number. So I'm taking the over on the Cincinnati Reds.
Basically, you're saying that this is a team to keep an eye on this year. One of the teams that, okay, cool. All right, his National League.
They give me Diamondback vibes.
From last year. Okay.
Don't let them get there because when they get there, they can do something stupid.
Okay. And we've seen that before in the past with some certain teams. All right, National League East. They started first, Atlanta Braves. Last year won 104 games. This year, the overall number is 101.5. So this team won the World Series 2 years ago. Still pieces there from that team. Clearly the class of the division, based on these numbers, there's really no other team even within 10 games of them in the win column. Use my projection. To the Braves. Sell me on the Braves.
Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna Jr., Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Adam Duvall's back, Michael Harris II, Ozuna from the Braves, and guess what? They also added fucking Jared Kelenic. Over. Fucking
easy over. Easy over.
There might not be an easier over that I can tell you on this show than the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I feel you on that. All right. My boys, the New York Mets, last year won 75 games. The over-under this year is 82.5. I feel weird about this team because there are still pieces from the team that won 101 games 2 years ago. So I feel like this can go either way. I do think that this team could be really bad this year or could be pretty decent this year, depending how injuries play out. If when Diaz is back this year, we'll see how that plays out for this team. I have measured expectation for this team. I'm just coming to this thing limping in. Okay, show me what you got. But what do you have on the Mets here? What do you think?
Well, obviously the injury to Kodai Senga definitely hampers what you want to put out there. That's why I thought up until about an hour ago, Jordan Montgomery could have ended up as a member of the New York Mets. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that didn't happen. There are pieces that are still there. I still like the Jake Diekman acquisition. Mm-hmm. Joey Lucchesi is still there, but he's hurt. Sean Manaea, the former San Francisco Giant, I think he'll be fine as a 3 or a 4 there. Sean Reed Foley will be good as a 4. I love Francisco Alvarez. I love the energy that he brings. Mm-hmm. Jeff McNeil, obviously. Brett Beatty, obviously. Francisco Lindor. Ronnie Mauricio ends up on this roster at some point sooner rather than later, the top prospect, shortstop. And that may be at the expense of one Francisco Lindor if he gets moved, potentially, if this team falls out of it. Harrison Bader, the acquisition there, I like that one with Nimmo and Starling Marte. Obviously, we talked about JD Martinez, hoping to rejuvenate and keep his career afloat by playing in New York. But my biggest thing about the offseason that I don't like the New York Mets did, they did not pay Pete Alonso. Free agent at the end of the year.
And in hindsight, I can see why now. he's hitting that mark now. He'll be 30 in December, I believe, or September, whatever it is, later in the year. And he's closing on that area where, because this is the guy that hit 46 home runs last year, had 118 RBIs, but yeah, he batted 217. So it's the Ryan Howard thing where like he's either gonna be really, really good when he hits the ball out of the park or he strikes out. So do you want to pay that guy for 6-7 years at 200 million, 300 million a clip at 30 years old when you're closing on that area where you might get 2 more good years out of him in that contract? So I can see why the Mets did not lock him up.
I mean, honestly, though, I will say this, and this is obviously the knock on wood portion of the show.
Mm-hmm.
He's played 80% or more of every game since he's played in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
2019, 161 games. 2020, the COVID year, he played in 57.
Mm-hmm.
21, 152. 22, 160. Last year, 154.
He's reliable. He's reliable as hell.
And that's the thing. I understand that 217 and it's hit or miss. Welcome to baseball. Now, 217, but you hit 46 and drive in 118 or 130. That's a success. I mean,
yeah.
Hell, we talked about it on multiple shows of former Oakland A great Chris Davis hitting like 212 every year, but having like 55 home runs and 115 RBIs and 250 strikeouts. It's the problem here is, and from a free agent perspective, this is my problem. You now have Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer telling you, well, don't go to New York because they're not ready to compete. Then you have a shot of telling free agents, we're here to compete. We're going to re-sign Pete. We got Lindor. We got McNeil. We got Nimmo. We got the guys that we're going to build this thing around. Now you're going into it, and if they have a bad year and Pete Alonso can get money somewhere else, I don't think he stays in New York.
No,
I don't think he has love for New York. I think if the Miami Marlins offered him a contract, he's a Florida boy. Went to the University of Florida. I'm sorry, last time I checked, you don't have to pay state taxes in Florida. It's a destination. Yes, are the Marlins going to pay probably what he wants? No, but if they can get close to it, the Florida boy may come home, and that's it. Do free agents want to go to a place where other people aren't dying to be there?
I think this is going to be relying on how good the team is this year. If the team is good this year, go to the playoffs and whatever, I could see him getting a nice contract in New York. But this could be either way, much like the season. So we liking the Mets on the over under. You like to get over?
What's the number?
82.5, right around 500.
Slight over.
Because I'll go over too. I think you're a mid-80s win team. It's 85, 86 wins.
I'll say slight over. I think they have a shot of hitting the over.
Right.
It's going to be very reliant on the injury of Kota Senga, though.
Correct. I don't know how long he's out for, to be honest with you. So, all right. Philadelphia Phillies last year won 90 games. This year the over-under is 90.5. So the Phillies, the very solid team. They went to the World Series 2 years ago. They went to NLCS last year. Can the Phillies get back?
Yes, they can.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is they're going to have to beat the Braves or the Dodgers in the NLDS to get back to the NLCS.
I mean, they did that 2 years ago, so technically.
And honestly, it would have to be the Dodgers. I think this team, the way it's built right now with Bryce and Schwarber and Castellanos, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, I think it gives the Dodgers a bigger fit. JT Realmuto, obviously. This, though, is a team that I think for them to get over that hump, they're going to have to go get a starting pitcher at the deadline. I like Christopher Sanchez. I like Spencer Turnbull. I like Taijuan Walker. I like Zach Wheeler. I like Aaron Nola. But they don't read the guys that are going to take them and beat Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, or Spencer Strider and Charlie Morton. There are pieces there that I really like. There are pieces there that I have questions about. obviously the one name that I haven't mentioned when talking about them is I think the guy that's going to have to go to make them be a thing this year, and it's Trey Turner.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him over last year. He hit 266 and 639 at-bats, had 26 home runs, 76 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, and an on-plus slugging of 779. The problem is Trey's got to find a way to get on base more. He's got to use that speed because that's the game-changing ability that he has. And I don't necessarily know that, like, he just started off so slow. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen again this year because he had such a big run in that World Baseball Classic, and everybody was hyped on the Trey Turner MVP race and all of that. And, you know, it was one of those things where obviously coming back to camp from the World Baseball Classic, he wasn't ready for the everyday grind. So I think as he goes, they go. I also think that they're going to be in the market for a left fielder at some point because I don't really love Christian Pache. You know, we'll see what they decide to do with the outfield. You know, they did sign super utility guy Whit Merrifield, so that's another option. I'll take the over on the Phillies, though.
Yeah, I like that too. Also, they're that team also where the regular season doesn't matter. Like, let's get to the playoffs and they're dangerous as shit.
Oh, they're going to be dangerous no matter what. But right now, you still have to tell yourself we got to win X amount of games because 4 of the 5 teams in the National League West are going to be competitive.
Right, I agree. All right, the Miami Marlins last year won 84. This year, the over number is 78.5.
Oh, God.
So this team was competitive last year. They were frisky. They're more than frisky. They're actually quite competitive. But their number shrunk.
Well, their number also shrunk because Sandy Alcantara is going to be out for the entire year with the injury.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You know, so that's a dent in the armor.
Good.
Yuri Perez dinged up. He's going to miss a little bit of time. You're hoping that Sixto Sanchez is able to rebound. And I say this with all the love in my heart. It looks like a bigger Sixto Sanchez, like he ate smaller Sixto Sanchez. So 6 + 6 is 12 Dos Sanchez, it feels like at this point. But April 2nd looks to be the date of the big league debut of Max Meyer, their number 2 pitching prospect. It looks like he's going to break camp and be a member of the everyday rotation. Nick Fortis and Christian Bethancourt at catcher. I don't necessarily love either of those guys, so that's a question. But they got Jake Berger, who they acquired in an in-season trade with the White Sox. Luis Arraez is still there. Tim Anderson, who they got on a relatively short, cheap contract. If he blows up early, maybe they move him for some pieces. John Birdie, really fast guy who plays multiple positions in the infield. But the big thing here is the outfield. Brian De La Cruz looked good at points last year. Jazz Chisholm's just going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Visiel Garcia and Jesus Sanchez. Both of those guys are going to play the corner outfield as the DH spot. So I like what they're doing. I like the pieces that they have. I think they hit the over, but I don't think they make the playoffs this year.
Right. All right, finally, to close out National League here, the Washington Nationals last year won 71 games. This year, the over number is 66.5. The Natties.
Shout out to my boy David, who I play baseball with. He is a clubhouse attendant over at the ballpark of the Palm Beaches for the Nationals.
Very cool.
He was actually up in D.C. For today's Prospect versus Nationals game, so that was cool. I got to see some pictures of that. This team is 2 or 3 years away from actually being somewhat back, and it's weird that you look at a team that won the World Series not 5 years ago, and we're like, wow, what happened to this team? Well, what happened to this team was they decided to pay Steven Strasburg and not Anthony Rendon. The problem was they shouldn't have paid either one of them because Rendon has been god awful as an Angel. Strasburg, obviously the injury that subsequently probably ended his career. He went out there and threw it to try to win the World Series. So I'll never say that I blame a guy going out there and giving everything he had left in the tank to try to win the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
But they have some young pieces that I think are going to be fun. Cade Cavalli, when he comes off the IL, Mackenzie Gore is going to get every week pitching. Strasburg is technically on the roster. I don't know why they're doing this to him. It's weird. I don't get it. Obviously, I don't expect him to do anything. Besides maybe sit in the dugout and be like a rah-rah Rushkemba. Tanner Rainey out of the bullpen is a guy that could probably get you some pieces at the deadline if he's pitching well. Josiah Gray is a guy pitching out of the rotations that's going to have explosive stuff. Keibert Ruiz, the 25-year-old catcher, pair him up with Riley Adams. I think that's a nice young combination they have there. Meneses, who played well in the World Baseball Classic, came out the gates hot and then fizzled late after playing, however many games. Nick Senzel, CJ Abrams, the young middle infield, I think as they mesh together, they could be a lot of fun. Joey Gallo, Victor Robles, Lane Thomas, Jesse Winker. This team filled its roster out to have potential pieces that may be wanted at the trade deadline to potentially get pieces back.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't put this team out there to contend. I think they're still a year or two away from, the Dylan Cruz of the world helping get this team back on pace. I'm going to take the under on the Nationals.
Okay. Before I get to the American League quick, we'll do it this way real quick. Give me your AL Cy Young winner. NL Cy Young winner, so rather.
Well, a lot of people would have thought the fancy pick was Yoshinobu Yamamoto until he went out there in Korea and got tanked on. A lot of people thought Joe Musgrove was an option until he went to Korea and got tanked on.
Mm-hmm.
I sit here today. I think the leader in the clubhouse and the guy that inevitably wins it is going to be Spencer Strider of the Atlanta Braves. He would be the guy that I would say is the guy I'm going to lean to. I don't know that he's actually the Vegas betting favorite. I'll look right now on the Hard Rock app here in lovely South Florida and tell you who the
gambling's legal.
Let's see. Major League Baseball awards, Cy Young. The National League Cy Young, Spencer Strider is the favorite. He's at plus 400. Zach Wheeler's at plus 800. Logan Webb's at plus 11. Max Fried's at plus 12.
Okay. So yeah, Strider. Okay. Your MVP, National League.
Ooh, this one's I think a little bit more of a fun conversation because obviously you would have thought it was Ronald Acuna Jr. or it was Shohei Ohtani. I'm gonna go on a bigger scale here. I'm gonna not take chalk here. I'm gonna take a guy. He's currently 5th in the National League. First full season playing first base. Give me Bryce Harper to turn it on and get Philly back into the playoffs. On his back and winning the MVP.
I like that one. All right. Let's go to the American League now, and we'll save the AL East for last.
Yeah.
You got a lot to say there. AL West first.
Yep.
Houston Astros, last year, 90 wins. Over on a number this year, 92.5. So obviously they're heavy favorites to win the division. Well, I guess not heavy, but they're definitely favorites. Astros continue the dominance.
Well, I mean, they made some moves. Obviously, they brought in Josh Hader to help that bullpen. Verlander, I think he's gonna be back by the end of April. He threw his second BP. His rehab starts are gonna start next week.
They don't need him until later anyway. The longer they keep out, the better.
Yes and no. I don't think this team is built the same way of previous Houston teams. They have Luis Garcia, they have JP France, Christian Javier, Lance McCullers. They do have Jose Urquidy, Framber Valdez. They do have pieces. They do have starting pitching pieces to make it where if Verlander's not there till the middle of May, early June, it's not the end of the world. But I would want Verlander there healthy as soon as I could get him there. They're going to try Yanier Diaz as their everyday catcher with Victor Carantini as the backup. They're going to take a shot on the 25-year-old. They let Martin Maldonado go, who was a big plus to that pitching staff. There's question marks at first base with John Singleton and Jose Abreu. Abreu's 37. He's just getting older. The swing's getting longer. And he's questioned on if he's going to be able to stay healthy. The body breaks down a little bit faster at 37 than it did at 27. Altuve's 33. He's already been dinged up this off season. Jeremy Pena at 26 didn't look great at points last year offensively. It looked like he lost his swing at points. It just never looked like he felt comfortable. 263, 10 homers, 52 RBIs, in 577 at bats. Just never looked like he felt comfortable. Alex Bregman entering a contract year. He said he's okay negotiating in season. Is that a bigger headache than what it's worth? Obviously you have Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker who are going to be the mainstays of that outfield. My concern though is the pitching outside of when you get Justin Verlander back.
Mm-hmm.
You said 92.5?
Yeah. It's not a very strong division outside maybe two teams, maybe three, I guess.
Well, there's two teams that are going to clash heads,
right?
And then it's two teams, and then it's the fucking Oakland A's,
right?
I'll take a 93 to 95.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm at. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, Seattle Mariners last year 88 wins. This year 86.5. So they're probably the third team in the division.
Yes. You want to believe in this team so bad because of the pieces that they have in J Ram and Mitch Haniger and JP Crawford. They acquired Jorge Polanco, Ty France, Cal Raleigh, Mitch Garver. They've acquired pieces that have made them better, but they let Helio Suarez get traded to Arizona. Brian Wu is hurt. You still have George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo. I would have loved for them to get another starting pitcher because you're going to have to compete with the offenses that the Rangers and Astros are throwing out there. I do think this team is better than the over total that they have, but I still have them in third place in this division. But I will take a slight over on the Mariners.
Okay. The other team here is the defending World Series champions, Texas Rangers, who last year won 90 games. Just their over number is 90.5.
I'd like to name my son Walker, Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
If I wanted to raise a bunch of sissies, I'd have named my kids Dr. Quinn and Medicine Woman. They're going to get Jacob deGrom back at some point. They're going to get Max Scherzer back at some point.
Some point being what, August, September? I mean, deGrom got hurt last year in July, I believe. I think July last year got hurt.
Let's see if there's any updates on Senior deGrom.
I heard nothing on the ground front since the injury. And
so
really
June 5th. So April 29th was his last start. They put him on the 15-day disabled list.
Right.
June 5th, they moved him from the 15-day to the 60-day. And then March 22nd, they put him back on the 60-day with the right elbow surgery. Now, there's no real, quote, timetable for his return, but I think they get him back sooner rather than later. Scherzer, I think they get back in like July.
Right.
From what I'm hearing with the back stuff. That
doesn't sound good though. I mean, look, they won a World Series. They got hot late last year, even without deGrom but I mean, can they hold a fourth down time in a somewhat competitive division?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: you're going to have to rely on some pieces that you don't know about. Here, you let Jordan Montgomery gone. You have Michael Lorenzen still there. You have Nate Eovaldi. You brought in Andrew Heaney. You have Dane Dunning still. You have John Gray. But here's the thing: there's a couple kids, AA and AAA, that could be a lot of fun if you put in this rotation. Remember back, the Vanderbilt boys, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. You got to get to them, go to them. I mean, those guys are electric. I think they're pieces that could be a lot of fun. And it could hold over until you get those guys back. The bullpen is going to be where this team is going to rely on the pieces, though. They have Jose Leclerc. They have Taylor Mahle. They have David Robertson, Yuri Rodriguez, Josh Boers. They're going to ask these starters to go 4 or 5 innings. They're going to piece out this game. They're going to be a team that, I hate sabermetrics and I hate, the computers are ruining baseball. they're going to have this thing mapped out like an Excel spreadsheet harder than the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Jonah Heim's going to be a lot of fun to watch, get a full year behind the plate as the number one. Nate Lowe swung the bat super hard in the playoffs. I think it continues. Obviously, you have Marcus Semien, Josh Jung, and Corey Seager. All of them are healthy coming into the start of the year, so that's a plus. Adolis Garcia. I don't know if you watched the World Series. He hit a couple balls off the bat that I said, oh, fuck, I'm really glad I'm not sitting in front of him because it would have hurt. Evan Carter, 21-year-old starting center fielder. Super young, going to be super fun to watch. The name to watch out for, though, is Wyatt Langford. Rumor has it he may break camp with them, to be determined. Haven't heard for sure where they're at with him. When he breaks camp, though, he's going to be an everyday outfielder. I'm taking the over on the Rangers because I think
okay.
And here's the thing. They very well may use Leiter and Rocker to get starting pitchers from teams that are going to collapse. So I'll take the over on the Rangers.
I thought I went the other way, to be honest. I would have taken like a slight under. Slight, like 89, 88. Like this.
I mean, here's the
measurement.
Here's the thing, though. They played so well last year at points in that season without Scherzer and Verlander that they've proven that they necessarily don't have to have them all the whole year to be the competitive team that they need to be. So I think that's the thing is they've worked out what works for them. And I think they're not going to differentiate from their game plan.
Right. Okay. All right. The LA Angels, last year, 73 wins over under this year. Excuse me. 71.5. Obviously, no Ohtani this year. I guess the question is going to be, when does Mike Trout say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm ready to go. I mean, he's a loyal guy. I get it, man. But is there a limit to this? I mean, they're not going anywhere.
I mean, we say they're not going anywhere. They're not. They're also, their big issue is that they've missed on the people that they've signed. Obviously they thought they were getting a good player in Anthony Rendon. It hasn't been good. They thought they were getting something good, out of some of the other pitching pieces that they've signed that weren't good. You had to blow this up. The Pujols contract, put them in a bind for way too long.
Oh, they've tried for years. Not like a try. Arnie Moreno's tried.
They've just missed.
Yeah,
and that's the unfortunate part. This rotation is going to be super young. It's going to be super green. Outside of like Reed Detmers and Zach Plesac, Logan O'Hoppe before the injury last year, the starting catcher was really good. Once they brought up Nolan Shanuel, who breaking news, FAU grad. I worked with his sister at Bonefish.
Oh, okay.
So that was cool. Brandon Drury, they brought him in, going to be a stopgap. Zach Neto, the 23-year-old shortstop, he's going to be good. Just depends on how long it takes him to get there. And there, I mean, good, because I think he is going to be good, but he's still super young. He's only 23. Rendon at 33, costing them $40 million. It's not good. The outfield, like Joe Adell's going to get everyday at-bats now because Ohtani's gone. They brought in Aaron Hicks for some reason. I don't fucking know why. Mickey Moniak's going to get everyday at-bats because there's not many other options out there. I don't hate what they're attempting to do, but I hate the fact that we're wasting the prime of Mike Trout.
Yeah. He's what, 33, 34?
Personally, and he is 32.
Okay.
He will turn 33 on August 7th.
Okay.
I'm going to do something wild here because that's what I do when I get on podcasts.
You're taking the over, aren't you?
I'm taking the under because I think Mike Trout gets traded before the deadline.
Oh, you think he finally says he has no trade clause, right, in his contract? I'm assuming.
Yes,
I imagine that. Okay, so he has
the 10-5 rights. So
he'll have to point up and say,
he'll give him a list of who he wants to be traded to.
All right.
I don't think Mike Trout finishes 2024 as a member of the Angels.
You heard it here first.
And I think he's going to his team that we've already talked about.
The Reds.
I believe he ends up as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies.
I could see that actually.
That's a Bryson Stott, a couple of pitching prospects, and and just looking at the Phillies, because we talked about them, looking back at it, that I said Josh Rojas, young outfielder, don't know what he's bringing to the table.
Certainly a contender. Yeah, I do agree.
Rojas, Pache, Bryson Stott, because you still have Whit Merrifield and a couple of younger pitching prospects. And I think you give the Angels 3 pieces that could be everyday players on their roster right now. You give them a couple of young pitching guys, and I think you get Mike Trout in a Phillies uniform, because if you're gonna go and beat the Dodgers or beat the Braves, you got to go make the splash. And what's the splash that makes you that much better? It's arguably the top 3 center fielder in the game.
Right. And finally, the Oakland, not yet Las Vegas Athletics. Last year won 50 games. This year, over a number slightly up now, 56 and a half.
There's so many bad things about this team, and then you look at I'm looking at the roster right now, and I'm like, wow, this is dog water. We'll start behind the plate. I like Shea Langeliers. I like I said, I really like him. I don't think he's the starter long term. I think Tyler Soderstrom eventually becomes the starter there, and Langeliers gets traded at some point, even though he's only 26. Mm-hmm. I like Ryan Noda. I like Zach Geloff. They got JD Davis for basically nothing because the Giants released him. Shortstop's a black hole. 22-year-old prospect Darrell Henneries is going to probably break camp, but they're probably going to let Aledmys Diaz be the starter, which I don't love, because Diaz really wasn't great last year for them. The outfield is a big question mark. Brett Rooker, their all-star from last year, probably going to be more of the DH. Esteury Ruiz, who I think led the majors in stolen bases last year, out of the leadoff spot as their everyday center fielder. He stole 67 bases last year and only had a 254 batting average. But they have Seth Brown, they have JJ Bleday, Lawrence Butler. They're a team that if these pieces keep developing the way that they're projected to, they're a year or two away from being a 70 to 75 win team. And that's without me even talking about their pitching staff, which I think you might get a start for the fucking Oakland A's this year.
I should sign up. I should try to get a contract.
You might, buddy, because I'm sorry. We're looking at a starting rotation that has something along the lines of former Brave Sean Newcomb, Ross Stripling, Ken Waldachuk, Alex Wood, and a 5th starter to be determined.
I mean, they can't be worse than they were last year, right?
I'm gonna take a slight over because I think they can steal some games from the Angels. I think they can steal some games from the Mariners and some other teams in the American League. The Chicago White Sox are about to be somewhere between fucking hot and garbage, and it might be disrespectful to hot garbage, but we'll talk about them here in a minute.
Oh, that's coming up now. Yep.
I'll take a slight over on the A's.
Right. All right, let's get the AL Central now. The Cleveland Guardians last year won 76 games. The over-under number this year is 77.5. The former Indians.
I am going to take the under here because I think there's a move coming that nobody wants to have the conversation about.
Which is?
Shane Bieber gets traded at the deadline.
Okay.
He goes to someone who needs a starting pitcher that's willing to pay for it.
A contender, right?
Because I don't think he's there. I don't think he wants to be in Cleveland long term. 28 years old. He either has 1 year left of control or this is his free agent year.
Any predictions?
Honestly,
give me 2 or 3 teams that you see him playing at, like contenders.
If things look still as bleak as they do for a certain team that we haven't talked about yet, I think the Yankees give up the farm for him. Mm-hmm. If that Garrett Cole injury is as bad as they think it is, I think they're in play. I think Baltimore is a team that you would be fucking scared of if he goes there, because here's the deal. and we're going to talk about them at length because that's a team that I actually really want to have a real conversation about.
That's coming up
because of the dumb shit that they did. So I don't want to go too far into it. So we'll bookmark Shane Bieber here. But I don't think Bieber finishes 2024 as a member of the Cleveland Guardians. I think he ends up in either Baltimore or New York.
Okay.
One of them going after him to get that piece to make a run to the World Series.
Right.
And if he goes, I think some other pieces go too. If this team is not as good as they were last year, I think Emmanuel Clase could go. I think James Karinchak could go. I think there's pieces out of that bullpen that they'd be more than glad to get whatever they can get back for it. They're going to have the Naylor brothers, Bo and Josh, 24 and 26 respectively. Andres Jimenez was good last year. He's 25. Jose Ramirez is 31. Wouldn't be surprised if they kick the tires on a trade for him, which is shocking, I know. But here's the thing. That team ain't going to compete right now. And they're a team that has the thought process of, if our window isn't right now, we should probably find a way to move on from the pieces and get pieces back for them. So the outfield, Stephen Kwan, down year last year. They don't really have an everyday center fielder, so I'm kind of worried about that from their perspective. So that it's worrisome because you take Bieber out of that equation. I'm an everyday center fielder. So I'll take an under on Cleveland just from those perspectives.
All right. Minnesota Twins last year, 87 wins. This year, over-under number is 85.5.
Over.
It's wide open. This division's wide open.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people go, they lost Sonny Gray. Okay, cool. They still have Pablo Lopez. They still have Joe Ryan. They have Zach Weiss. They have a couple other guys that they're going to bring up. But here's the thing. You're going to get a full year out of Royce Lewis. You're going to get a full year out of Ryan Jeffers. They brought in Carlos Santana. Correa can hopefully get back to being what he was before. He's only 29. Willie Castro, going to play all over the place. Manuel Margot is going to be a piece that they traded for. Max Kepler, good piece. Alex Kirilloff, good piece. Oh, and by the way, you're hoping that 30-year-old Byron Buxton's legs don't give out on him. Mm-hmm. I think this team, here's the thing. This is another team. Hey, Boston, you don't want Nick Pivetta anymore? We'll give you Max Kepler for him. And he puts himself in that rotation, and that rotation gets even deeper. They also have their lights out closer, Johan Duran. Griffin Jacks pitched well out of the bullpen. Bailey Ober's going to be in the rotation. Chris Paddock's probably in the rotation. I take the over on Minnesota this year.
Okay. Chicago White Sox last year, 61 wins. Over under this year, 61.5.
You trade Dylan Cease and the number is the same? Under. You're looking at a starting rotation that has Mike Schroka, Michael Kopech, Garrett Crochet, Chris Flexen. It ain't good. Martin Maldonado's a 37-year-old catcher that's splitting time with Corey Lee. Andrew Vaughn, he's 25. Looks like he could have a good year. Yohan Moncada didn't look good at all last year. They brought in Paul DeJong to play shortstop. Don't really love him. Benintendi, they paid him all that money. And let me mind you this, former Red Sox, I love Andrew Benintendi. He's one of my former favorite ex-Red Sox. He does not look good in Chicago. The swing doesn't look right. He hasn't been able to put the ball in play. Last year in 562 at bats, he hit 262 with 5 home runs and 45 RBIs.
Right.
That's not Andrew Benintendi level production. It really is not. Obviously, their piece here is Luis Robert. Obviously, they have Eloy Jimenez as well. I'm taking the under just because I don't trust anybody in this pitching staff.
All right. Detroit Tigers last year, 78 wins. Over under 79.5.
I'm going to take the over.
Okay.
And I'm going to be very.
Are they sneaky wildcard team possibly?
You know what? Here's the thing, and I'm gonna say this with my heart because I had a friend of mine who I grew up with, or not really grew up with, but that I worked with when I was in South Carolina, by the name of Brian. Brian was a big Detroit Tiger fan, and back in, I want to say it was like before Christmas. I'm gonna look real quick before I say some things incorrectly and get myself in trouble because, well, it's kind of a sore subject. So yeah, it was December 7th. I got a text from a good friend of ours that we're in the fantasy baseball league with. Ryan passed away. He had a heart attack. He was like 50. Big guy, obviously, it was sudden and no real thing going on. But Brian was a big Tiger fan, and I remember our debates back when the Tigers and the Red Sox played in the ALCS, and shit talking each other and things like that. I would be remiss if I said I wasn't taking the over and calling the Tigers a sneaky wild card team, because part of me wants them to do it for him, because the last couple of years that he got to watch baseball and play fantasy baseball with us, this Tiger team hasn't been good. It's been the Miguel Cabrera show. Miggy's going to retire once he gets this and once he gets that, and I'm again, I'm being selfish with my pick here. So if you guys don't follow a pick that I make all night, and this is the one, I won't be offended. But they did add some pieces. They added Jack Flaherty to that rotation. Kenta Maeda. They brought back Matt Manning. Shelby Miller's there. Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal. They're going to go with Carson Kelly and Jake Rogers behind the plate. Full year of Spencer Torkelson. He's going to play first base. Colt Keith, one of their top prospects, is probably going to break camp with them. Gio Urshela they brought in. Riley Green's going to blow up this year. I think this is the year that he takes off. Then they have a couple other guys that are on that active roster. Akil Badu's currently hurt, but once he's healthy, he'll probably be back on the main roster, the 26-man roster. Mark Canna's there. But the piece that they need to legitimately have an internal conversation about is Javier Baez, because he's not good. He hasn't been good. He hit 222 last year, and I looked at something early in the spring training where he was like 1 for his last 27 with like a sacrifice fly and like 18 strikeouts. It's just not good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm taking the over. I hope the Tigers make the playoffs. Yeah.
Right. All right. Last one in the division. The Kansas City Royals last year, 56 wins. Over-run number 73.5.
Wait, you said they won 56 games last year, and it's 73.5 this year?
Jump. It's a big jump. What happened there? Did they add a piece that could at least make them competitive?
Well, I mean, they definitely re-signed. They signed Bobby Witt Jr. to his contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really add anybody of note to the offense. The pitching, they did add Michael Wacha. He's the only real name that I see that they added Will Smith to the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a couple of young guys, Matt Sauer, Cole Reagans, John Schreiber they added, Jordan Lyles they added, Seth Lugo they added. Okay, so they did add some pitching that's going to make them better. I just don't know if they're 25 wins better.
It's a massive leap.
Yeah, from 56 to what? 75?
73.5.
Oh, so it's like 14,
still a lot though. That's still a lot though.
14.5 wins.
No, not even. That's 16.5 wins more.
16.5. Okay,
that's still a lot though. That's still a big jump.
I mean, it's a ton. Fuck. I mean, it's tough though because of how bad I think Chicago's going to be.
Right. So you get the,
like I think every team in the Central is just gonna wipe the floor with Chicago this year. I'm gonna go slight under, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get to the over.
Right. Basically saying stay away on this one.
Yeah, it's another one where it's like, don't bet it if you don't have to.
Right. All right. Finally, AL East. All right, so that's what first. The Yankees last year 82 wins. Over on a number this year 93.5. So This team struggled last year, obviously 82 wins, just around 500. So what do they do to somehow get another 11.5 wins under the belt?
Las Vegas thought it was Juan Soto. They're obviously expecting a better year from Nestor Cortez than he had last year.
Right.
Expecting a bounce back year from him and from Carlos Rendon. They did bring in Marcus Stroman. They're expecting good things from him and from Clark Schmidt. Obviously, they bring in Juan Soto. They're going to go with Austin Wells and Jose Trevino as their catchers. They're hoping for a full, healthy year out of Anthony Rizzo. DJ LeMahieu already announced that he's going to start the season on the IL. And then the outfield, that's the thing right now, the outfield. Oswaldo Cabrera, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge. They traded for Alex Verdugo. Stanton's obviously the DH. Trent Gresham's there. Eventually, J.A. San Dominguez, the guy with 2 A's in his name, is gonna be healthy. Maybe not this year, but eventually at some point he'll be healthy and be able to make it into the major league lineup. But my question here is, I have a bigger concern of the injury to Garrett Cole.
Of course.
Because
and I'm going to assume he's out. He's going to be out till at least June. I'm going to assume that.
I mean, I would assume that he's out. He's definitely out all of April.
Right.
They'll probably start rehab starts in the middle of May. You know, you're looking probably June 1st at the earliest, if I had to guess.
Right.
Maybe late May, depending on how many rehab starts they realistically think he needs. But with an elbow, even if you had 15 rehab starts, it doesn't mean that it's not going to feel great. It may feel like shit all year.
The problem is that there in the American League alone, there are too many mediocre to bad teams that, I mean, if they get over 93 wins, it won't surprise me. But
I'm going to take the under.
I would too.
93. I think they're 88 to 90, and I think they get a wild card spot.
That's from
but I don't think they're a 93 win team.
I think when I said they'll also juice that number, that's why.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm with you. I think they're closer to a high 80s, early 90s. They're not Braves good. They're not that good. They're not Dodgers good. But they're good enough to get to as a wild card. I agree with you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Toronto Blue Jays last year 89 wins. Over number is 87.5.
So the big problem here with the Toronto Blue Jays is, on paper, this team should be really, really good. And they just weren't last year. Chris Bassett was average. Jose Barrios was worse than average. Alek Manoah went AWOL at some point. Kevin Gausman was probably the only stable thing that they had in that rotation. Jordan Romano got hurt. He's still dinged up, may not be healthy for opening day. Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk both caught well. Then you have Vladdy, you have Bo. They brought in Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. They have Kevin Biggio, but they let Matt Chapman leave, which is a loss, big loss defensively. Their outfield is probably going to be Varsho, Kiermaier, Springer. They brought in Justin Turner to be the DH, / him and Vladdy alternating at first base and things like that. I'm going under just because I don't love the pieces that they brought in to fill the gaps. I don't love Ernie Clement. I don't love Davis Schneider. I don't love Isaiah Kiner-Falefa taking over for Matt Chapman. The outfield is very, very, very bare. The starting rotation, the only guy that I truly trust in that rotation this year is Kevin Gausman. It's just a matter of time until they probably try to find a trade partner for Alek Manoah. So I'm out on them this year. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they find a way to turn it up. But yeah, I'm out on Toronto this year. I'm taking the under.
Right. All right. The Tampa Bay Rays last year won 99 games. However, the number shrunk to 84.5. What the hell happened there?
Las Vegas hating on the fact that they just keep doing it with like mediocrity.
Yeah.
Oh, and the fact that they traded Tyler Glasnow to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Right.
And the fact that Shane McClanahan's hurt. and the fact that Drew Rasmussen is hurt, and the fact that Tosh Bradley and Shane Baz, basically their entire pitching staff is hurt.
So basically justified. Basically justified the number.
Yeah, this one I don't hate. But the thing is for some reason I can't tell myself to take the under because this team finds a way to win games with fucking shit at pitching every year.
So why stop now?
What's the number?
84.5.
Yeah, I can see this team winning fucking 86 games with fucking me and you pitching every fifth day.
Yep, with you. Okay, these last two teams. I know we got a lot to get into here. All right, you're wearing a t-shirt. The Red Sox last year, 78 wins. That was a win total last year. The over number not much better, 79.5. I gotta be honest with you, I am not used to this Red Sox team being mediocre like this. This is not something I'm used to in my years watching baseball. And yeah, here we go.
None of us are.
Yeah. Is there light in the tunnel? This thing.
There'll be light at the end of the tunnel when fucking they make fucking what's his name sell the team.
Yeah. So their ownership group is a group that's owned other stuff.
Liverpool.
So I feel like they're not. Penguins. So basically, the Sox they ain't the first priority. In other words,
not anymore.
Yeah.
And listening to, officially rebranded the Section 10 podcast. Underdog Jared Carabas, formerly of Barstool, and then he went to DraftKings, and the Red Sox version of baseball is dead. They're not spending money. It's really weird, and I get it. You had to reset the luxury tax, especially that's why you let Mookie go.
Mm-hmm.
You traded Chris Sale, but you got back Vaughn Grissom, who I think could be good when he gets healthy. I like Bobby Dahlbach. I love Tristan Castis. I love Rafi. I love Trevor Story. Tyler O'Neill's looked good. Masataka Yoshida's a question mark because you paid him all that money, and basically he's an on-base machine, but he's not adding any power to the lineup. Jaron Duran hasn't proven that he can stay healthy. I hope he does for his sake because I think he's a really good player, and I think when he's healthy, I think he's even better. Sedan Rafaela, who was called up at the end of last year, was good at points. Eventually, Kyle Teal is going to make his debut at some point this year, the top catching prospect of the Red Sox and the number 2 overall prospect. But the problem here is that they have a starting rotation that's got 2, maybe 3 number 4 starters, a number 2 starter, and then 6 guys that are going to be pitching in AAA in the next fucking 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, they just signed Brian Bayo to that contract extension. I love that. I love that they got him under contract early. But they signed Lucas Giolito. He got hurt. Cutter Crawford probably is at best a number 4. There's a real shot that he's your number 2 or 3. Liam Hendricks, who's rehabbing from, an injury of his own, probably isn't going to pitch this year. But I like the fact that they got him for cheap next year. Tanner Houck and Garrett Whitlock have both proven they're great fucking pieces to have in that bullpen, but they're not stretched out to be starters. That's a true problem that this Red Sox team has. But for some reason, I can't tell myself to take the under here because the fact of the matter is that this team is just fucking gritty. I think they're going to be a team who's going to scrap, and they're going to find a way to sneak some games that they probably shouldn't win from some teams that they shouldn't beat. And they're going to find a way to barely sneak over the over, but I think it's like a game or 2. I don't think that this is a team that's leaps and bounds.
They're still mediocre. In other words, they're still literally mediocre.
Their goal this year is have a good first half, trade some of these bullpen pieces and these outfield pieces, and your middle of the road, infield guys, your utility guys. Get some prospects back, rebuild this thing, and go after it in the offseason whenever you can go get a starting pitcher or 2.
All right. And finally, the last team here is the Baltimore Orioles, who last year won 101 games. This year, over number is shrunk to 90.5. They're not even a favorite in the division right now, according to Vegas.
Hold on. You said 90.5?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm running with your money to bet the fucking Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said, I'm like, yeah, this is not, no.
I get it. On paper, you're looking at it going, well, they lost some pieces, but they're going to get John Means back at some point. Dean Kramer looked really good last year. Keegan Aiken is going to pitch well. Felix Bautista is eventually going to come back to this bullpen to be paired up with Yanni Ercano. Kyle Bradish, once he comes back from the injury, will be fine. They signed Craig Kimbrell. I get it. A lot of people, oh, it's Craig Kimbrell. He looked so bad last year because he had to pitch his ass off in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Baltimore's a little bit smarter than that. Oh, and by the way, let's not forget the guy that I mentioned when we talked about the Milwaukee Brewers. They fucking traded for Corbin Burns.
Mm-hmm.
And what did it cost them? Joey Ortiz. It didn't cost them Gunnar Henderson. It didn't cost them Jackson Holiday. It didn't cost them Hunter Kaished. It cost them Joey Ortiz, who probably isn't even going to be the guy that they want to be their third baseman. Because here's the deal. Looking at this roster right now, Jordan Westberg is going to be the starting third baseman. Gunnar Henderson is going to be at short or at third. Jorge Mateo is going to probably be the starting shortstop. And then you have Ryan Mountcastle. Here's the deal. By May 1st, Jackson Holiday will be a member of this lineup every day. And they're going to get better. I hate the fact that they're pulling this bullshit to manipulate service time. I think it's fucking horse shit. I hate the fact that they can fucking do this. And I get it. Oh, we don't have to win all these games right now out of rip because, we're as good as we are. I hate it. I hate that. I hate this fucking rule. I think it's the most mind-numbing rule. I think you should start fucking telling people if a player gets called up within a fucking week or two to manipulate service time, fucking start docking these teams' draft picks. You're trying to put the best thing out there for the fans. I'm sorry. I don't need to see Tony Kemp, Ramon Urias, or Jorge Mateo the first 2 weeks of the season ever. And their bullshit reasoning of, oh, Holiday hasn't seen top flight left-handed pitching. Don't worry. Nobody has. And you think he's going to see it in AAA? He's going to face two lefties in the time he's in AAA before he gets called up. It's wild that that's your reasoning behind it. I think you've lost me on this whole fucking thing. It's not good. I hate it. I've always hated it. I've always thought that teams that manipulate this thing, it's not good. The outfield with Santander, Austin Hayes is back, Ryan McKenna. You're going to get a healthy year of Cedric Mullins. Eventually, like I said, Heston Kjerstad is probably going to be a member of this. Or he's going to be a piece that gets moved in a trade for potentially Shane Bieber. Because here's the deal. If this Oriole team is in contention to be the best team in the American League towards the All-Star break, I would not be surprised if they decide to go after a big piece in the starting pitching game to pair with Corbin Burns.
Oh, I thought this is any team really in baseball that's a contender, and they certainly are. They'll be the ones probably buying, heavy buyers.
Yes, because there's one thing that they have that some of these other teams don't have. Prospects. Because this team has done it the way that other teams say that they're going to do it, but the other teams have failed at it, and Baltimore hasn't. They drafted Gunnar Henderson. They drafted Jackson Holiday. They drafted Westberg, or they had Westberg in a trade. They drafted Ryan Mountcastle. They went after all of these pieces through the draft and got better through the draft. And that's why I'm all in on Baltimore this year. I'm taking the over for the Orioles. I think that's
an easy over.
The easiest one for me to put my money on.
Okay. All right. Before we get to the playoff stuff, first off, American League Cy Young winner.
This one's hard because there are so many, like, Kevin Gausman could have a great year, but if the Blue Jays are awful, like, it's going to harm him. it's going to do more harm than good.
Yeah.
According to the app, he is actually the Vegas betting line favorite right now at plus 700. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna take the guy who's in second. I'm gonna take the guy who I just talked about. I'm gonna take Corbin Burns from the Baltimore Orioles to win the Cy Young.
Okay. And then American League MVP.
Obviously the flashy picks, because Shohei Ohtani is no longer in the American League, is Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. I'm gonna say no to both of them. I'm gonna take the sweet swinging lefty of the Houston Astros. I'm going to take Yordan Alvarez as the American League MVP.
All right, let's run down the playoffs real quick. So give me your 3 division winners first in the National League.
We're going to go Braves, Reds, and Dodgers.
Okay, you have 3 wild cards.
Padres, Phillies, Gigantes.
All right, Giants. All right, and what is your NLCS?
Nope.
Okay.
Take the Giants out, put the Diamondbacks in.
Okay. And what is your NLCS looking like?
I mean, it's the one that everybody wants to see on paper. Give me Dodgers, Braves.
Okay. And the winner of that?
You might like Shohei Ohtani, but when I look at a roster top to bottom, the most complete team in the National League is the Atlanta Braves.
Okay, so Braves in the World Series and National League. American League now. Give me your 3 division winners.
I'm going to take the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to take the Minnesota Twins. And I will take the Houston Astros to win the West.
Okay. And then give me your 3 wildcards.
The Yankees, the Rangers, the Seattle Mariners.
All right. Then give me your American League ALCS.
Give me Baltimore versus New York.
Oh, okay. And who's winning the American League?
In the reverse of the Tony Tarasco bullshit in Yankee Stadium, the Orioles defeat the New York Yankees to go to the World Series.
So we get Braves and Orioles in the World Series. And who will be hoisting that trophy in October?
Give me the Baltimore Orioles.
Could be the year, man. Could be the year. A lot of good energy there.
Buddy, this is again, growing up in the DMV, and before the Nationals ended up there, spent a lot of time at Camden Yards. I think it's one of my favorite stadiums in all of baseball.
Bucket list for me.
Finally coming back to
Yeah.
baseball games. They had the splash zone last year in the outfield, and it was a party. And I think that and obviously there are 10 times a year where I will not root for the Baltimore Orioles. It's the times they play the Boston Red Sox. Obvious. Right. And if they play them in the playoffs, obviously I won't root for them. But honestly, if not, I am all for a Baltimore Orioles playoff run. I love the fact that here's the thing. They have the kids that need to be out there in front of the kids that are growing up today to be the faces of baseball. The Gunnar Hendersons, the Jackson Holidays, the Ryan Mountcastles, the Heston Kierschids, all those guys, the Cedric Mullins. Like, these are the guys that need to be out there in the commercials, in the ads, to be the face of Major League Baseball, because of how good those guys really are. So yeah, I'm all in on Baltimore this year. I think that they, of course, obviously barring some kind of horrific setback, knock on wood, especially for you, Big Jim, because I know you're going to listen to this and probably text me. I think they're my favorite to win the American League, and I think they're probably the best team in the American League right now.
Yeah, I could definitely see an Orioles Braves scenario. I think honestly, of the two teams that you predicted to go to World Series, I feel like I feel stronger about the Orioles getting there than the Braves.
Yeah, I mean, I think on paper, with as good as the National League is and as good as the Dodgers are,
right. Right.
It's hard to sit here and just write them off. But, you know, I'm afraid that the Shohei thing may be a distraction, and the fact of the pitching question marks, because there's a bunch of guys who are inevitably going to come back. But where do they fit in once there's been guys who have been pitching for the front half of the year?
Right.
That's more my concern when it comes to them. I mean, honestly, I think you have to think there's going to be some moves that are made in the next month or two that could eventually change that direction very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And there is your annual Earnest Speaking podcast baseball preview, sponsored by Mikey B, of course.
That's me.
Mike, you want to plug away? Anyone want to plug? We get out of here?
You guys can follow me if you want on over on the Twitter at They Call Me Burn. Obviously, as we mentioned during the pre-show, listen to the Mount, Take Your Wrestling podcast. You know, we're gonna have to get you to come out of retirement for one of those episodes.
Yes, if I can stay up past like tonight right now is late for me, so if I can stay up past 11 o'clock,
buddy,
definitely.
we might get you on for a segment.
I feel your pain though. But to get up at 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, that's crazy. Yeah.
So I mean, it's fun. We're getting ready to hit into WrestleMania season. Yep. Obviously, been working on some WrestleMania Jeopardy for the Take 3 guys because you know Devin called out Tim, so I've been working on the trivia, the Jeopardy for WrestleMania weekend. So we'll see if we can get that recorded. WrestleMania weekend, because of traveling schedules, we're gonna do a joint show with the guys from 3CT because Joe's gonna be traveling to Philly via train because he's still not flying.
So
I'm going up Thursday. He's got some stuff going on that he can't miss for work, so he won't be up there till Friday. So I'll be hopping on the show with the 3CT guys. We'll just release it on both feeds because it's gonna be wild. But WrestleMania is in under what is it now?
Like
12 days.
10 days, 12 days, 11, 10.
Like some weird number. I end up in there a week from 2 weeks from Thursday. So
that's
gonna be wild.
Yeah, should be a fun time, man. And it's a nice build to WrestleMania, which we'll talk about later on down the road. So, Mikey, great job as always. We got to clock this on 2 hours, and it should be a fun year, man. As a balloon, watch on YouTube page, the balloons come up there and celebratory. Good job as always, man.
Thank you, buddy.